Hey guys, welcome to a Q&A Monday video. In this video I try to answer as many of your questions as I can in as much detail as possible, but I get so many questions every day that I just can't answer them all. So if I don't get to your question in this video, don't worry, I might get to it in the next one. If not, just drop it down in the comments and I'll get to it as soon as I can. So without further ado, let's jump into the first question. Leslie Rushforth asks, I know you're working through historical footage at the Mo, but are you still getting activity occurring? Yes, the house is still active, not nearly as active as it has been in the past, but you know, it does heighten on occasion. So, you know, if a week's been particularly noisy and you can definitely tell things are sort of moving around, I'll start setting the cameras up on a night. But what I don't want to do is start mounting that footage up again before I've finished going through the old stuff. Like the historical stuff for me is a priority because there is so much of it, and this 13 Years Haunted series has ended up a much bigger project than I ever intended it to be. I knew there was a lot to go through, but I honestly thought to start with that I'd just start posting clips. I didn't really think I'd be putting it together in the way that I am, but I do think it's the best way to tell it, so you can sort of experience it through my eyes as I sort of present each bit to you. I can explain how I was feeling at the time, so that when the time comes to sort of focus on present day investigations and start, you know, just dabbling in those investigations again and experimenting, you're with me as far as like why I'm approaching things a certain way. You're on the sort of that you understand where my mind's at with each thing, if that makes sense. So yes, it is still active, but I do want to get through that historical footage first. Blythe asks, when you hear these noises in the middle of the night, are you scared or do you just ignore it now? It really depends on the level of activity at the time. Like if it's just, you know, something walking around, like the footsteps that are so common, it has just become that. It's so commonplace that we would just joke about it and just go, oh, they're up and walking around again. You know what I mean? That it just happens. But if on the other hand, like there is a loud bang or something has sort of fallen over, or there's something that would wake us up with a start, if it was at that level, then absolutely I would get up and I would go see what's going on, grab the nearest thing that I could consider a weapon, and I would go explore the house. Because just because these noises are there and they are commonplace doesn't mean that somebody couldn't break in. Like I certainly wouldn't want to ignore it and then come down the next morning to find we've been robbed or something. Like it's always better safe than sorry. So if it wakes us up with a start, if it's at like that level of noise, then yeah, absolutely, I'm getting up and I'm going to have a look around. Hey Jude asks, you mentioned a near-death experience. Did you experience what others have experienced in the sense of seeing the other side? So the near-death experience that I mentioned in my video was just way back when I was a kid, and I got pneumonia and I ended up hospitalised, and it was there that I had my near-death experience. Now, it wasn't quite as dramatic as near-death experience really makes it sound. They'd found a shadow on my lung and I was very sickly, and you know, it was there that I had my near-death experience. But being so young, it's so far out of my living memory that I have no idea. All I've got is the sort of second-hand stories from my mum and dad about how bad I was. And sort of being so young, if I'd have had any of those experiences, seeing the other side, or you know, like family members waiting for you or something like that, you know, these stories that you hear, I don't even think I'd have registered it as odd. I probably wouldn't have even known who the humans were that were waiting for me, enough to tell my parents anyway. It had just been just a thing that I experienced, and I'd have just got on with my day after all was said and done. So yeah, near-death experience does really make it sound dramatic. Obviously I pulled through and I was fine, but I just don't remember enough about it to really go into detail. Forever Alive asks, don't you think you should do exploration videos, aka haunted investigations at different places with the devices you possess? I would absolutely love to start featuring like external investigations on the channel. It is just a matter of getting round to it. Before I took my break, I was actually planning a much bigger series in which I did just that, where I went round to places like 30 East Drive, the Ancient Ram Inn, you know, even like the Golden Fleece here in York, just to do an external investigation, just to bring new environments into the channel. But it's the same old story. It's time and funds. Like I work 5.5 days a week. It just doesn't leave a lot for the, you know, the traveling and the all-nighters, and then the inevitable like reviewing of the footage and editing and stuff like that. It all just takes so much time and money that I just can't really do it at the minute. Once I'm all caught up on my archive footage and I can sort of look to future investigations, it is something that I want to dabble in. Absolutely, I want to bring that stuff to the channel, but when I do it, I want to do it right. I don't just want to do a couple of 10-minute videos of me exploring this location and asking some questions on an EVP session or ghost box session. I want it to be a proper thing. I want to have interviews, you know, archive footage, like documentation from the place, where it's like a proper documentary for each one, telling the stories properly. And even a step further than that, rather than just doing the obvious places that have been seen 1,000 times, is like exploring some slightly lesser known places. Like everybody's hometown has a haunted location or some kind of like urban myth, like, or a friend of a friend has this haunted house. You know, tell some stories that we haven't all heard 1,000 times. So yeah, to sort of sum up, I would absolutely love to do it, and I do intend to. It's just, I've kind of just got to get the time to do it first. Becky B asks, have you ever wondered if maybe you're a medium? I'm one and I'm a magnet for them, just saying. I've never really considered if I might be a medium as such. I do think I have a sensitivity. I'm certainly empathic to a certain extent. Like, if I am surrounded by people, like I can get a little bit overwhelmed, and in the past I always sort of just put that down to being quite shy and a little bit anxious, but as I've sort of gone on in life, I've noticed that I do sort of pick up on emotions a little bit, and it's certainly something I've noticed in my investigating, where if a spirit is around, I can feel it. It's not like I can see them or hear them or anything like that. There's just a sense that, like, I feel like somebody is nearby even if I can't see anybody. So no, I don't necessarily think I'm a medium. Maybe it is something I could develop, or like at least research into and see how that all would work. Is it possible to sort of develop into that? But I do think I'm sensitive. John Davidson asks, hi Michael, you believe in people's souls and evil spirits, and this is true. I want you to answer my question. Do you believe in the creator God who created the human body? No, I'm not religious, and I don't necessarily follow any particular religious belief. And I certainly, I mean, no offense to anybody that is religious, but it's just really never called out to me. My spirituality comes from just my experiences and the things that I've seen and things that I've heard from the devices that I've got. I try to really subscribe to science as much as possible. That just logically works in my mind, and I'm able to sort of jump on board with that just a little bit more. I do believe in like the human soul, but I don't think it's like a God-given gift. I think it's more a concept that we have for our essence, like our personalities and the energy within us. I think spirits and ghosts are just that. They're like a formless type of energy from a deceased human. So, for example, if a person dies under tragic circumstances, or like the age-old cliche of having unfinished business, I don't think that energy, basically, I think that when that person dies, their brain is in such a state of flux, and, you know, neurons firing and stuff, like the energy is going haywire at the moment of passing, that energy doesn't just become whatever it should. And if it was to flow on naturally, I think it takes an offshoot, and that becomes that formless type of energy that we perceive as a ghost, if that makes sense. Again, I can't sort of prove any of this scientifically as of yet, and I don't think anybody can really, but I think that's what we're here for as paranormal investigators and enthusiasts. We just want to understand. And I think while we don't get it right now, I really do think in the future we will have the technology to be able to do that. But no, sort of to bring it back, I'm not particularly religious, and I think life as it is can be explained sort of scientifically. I do think it is a series of accidental evolutions that have sort of created the people we are, and it's all done through that energy that I think is the source of everything. PJ Dempsey asks, is Anna still around? Do you think you have an attachment? It's really funny that I came across this comment when I did, because literally just the other night I had a dream about her, and in the dream, so sort of it was only a short thing, But in the dream I was asleep, so, you know, like dreamception, and I heard Anna shouting for help in my ear. And, you know, it woke me up with a start, and I tried to wake Shauna up. I'm like, someone's shouting for help, what's going on? And she wouldn't even budge. So like I heard it again, and it sounded like it was coming from outside. So I took off down the stairs and out into the street, and I'm shouting for her. I'm like, where are you? What's going on? And it sort of echoed up the street. And we've got like an alleyway at the end of our sort of cul-de-sac. So I sort of took off to where I thought the sound was coming from this alleyway, thinking, what the bloody hell is going? My heart's going. Obviously my mind's thinking the worst, someone's been attacked, you know, that kind of thing. And when I got there, she was just stood in front of me, and it was exactly as I'd envisioned her in the past, you know, in the sort of wide flowing dress, the big hat. She never introduced herself at all. She just looked me dead in the eyes and said, thank you. And I said, for what? What's going on? Are you okay? Like what, you know, were you being attacked or something? And she just looked at me again, and she just went, thank you, and was gone. And that was literally it. There was no like dramatic ghostly fizzling out. It was literally blink, gone, done. Like that was the dream. And I woke up just moments later, and it just left me feeling kind of weird. Now I don't know if it was a paranormal occurrence. I don't know if it was like a visit, now that I'm sort of mentally better off, like I'm feeling much better in myself. She's visiting now to let me know she's okay, or if it is just because I'm so focused in on the paranormal, going through all this footage, that I'm just reminiscing, as it were, to the spirits that I've been in contact with in the past. Like I really don't know, and I didn't get a sense that she was there when I woke up. Like I just felt odd, like I'd left things unfinished there. In general, I don't feel like I really did enough, but maybe that's exactly why the dream happened. Maybe it was a visit and that she was just telling me she's okay. I don't know. Give me your 2 cents, guys. Let me know what you think. Do you reckon it was a paranormal dream, or have I, you know, just reminiscing and wanting closure on something that I just can't get? But to answer your question, no, I've not actually felt her at any point. I haven't smelt that sort of sweet, perfumey smell that I used to get. It's honestly just been nothing really, other than this dream. It's just been radio silence from Anna. DJFXW asks, did you get married? I had this question quite a lot in the comments actually since sort of starting to post again, and I think it's entirely to do with the fact that this ring's been moved to my left hand. Now I have had this ring for years. I had it before I left. I just used to wear it on my right. No, me and Shauna aren't married, but we have been together 18 years, so we are all but. We decided, you know, in the last few years that we just really weren't all that bothered about the whole marriage thing. Whereas committed as we're ever going to be, we don't need that piece of paper to sort of validate that. The reason I sort of moved it to my left hand is, one, to sort of symbolise that we are together forever anyway, like we are 100% committed, but also in a practical sense, I work a very physical job now, and having it on my right hand just didn't make any sense anymore. I'm right-handed, so a lot of the things I was lifting, it was just going to start snagging on everything, so I moved it to the left because I just don't use that quite as much. So yeah, no marriage yet, but we are still together. Kanji's McBasketball asks, hey Michael, how exactly did you cleanse your home? So the cleansing that I subscribe to, that has kind of always worked for me, is the classic smudging. So saging the house. I saw a comment actually, and I don't know if it was meant as a joke, that basically just said they opened all the doors and windows and told the spirits to leave. Now, while that might have been a joke, it's not entirely wrong. So the cleansing, in a nutshell, is open all the doors and windows and you sage the house. And I mention a prayer. Again, I'm not religious, but you kind of just recite a mantra to yourself. Like, again, I think a lot of this sort of spirituality and the cleansings and stuff comes from intention. And so for me, the idea of a prayer is more me asking the spirits almost telepathically to leave as I go through. I did also call on the spirit of Daniel, who, for those of you who don't know, I believe is sort of like I'm going to say guardian angel for lack of a better term, but a sort of a spirit that is there to protect me. Of course, the angel thing is controversial in itself, but he's a spirit that has always been there to help me in the past. So as I was going around saging the house, I was basically asking Daniel to help me cleanse it, and Shauna was doing the same. She was there with me every step of the way, and we just mentally pushed out every spirit that was present. And as I say, it did seem to work. I use crystals now, as well as things like cloudy quartz and black obsidian and things like that, that I believe sort of just cleanse the air in themselves. I never really used to put a right lot of stock into crystals because, again, it's just a little bit, I don't know if it was just a little bit hokey or like almost like magical witchy sort of stuff. Like it just seemed a little silly to me at first, but over the years and the research that I've done, things like, say, like limestone is supposed to enhance sort of paranormal energy and stuff, and there are loads of cases of locations that are on like a bed of limestone under the earth that are just so active all of the time. And I'm like, well, if that can have that effect, why on earth can't like a naturally occurring crystal like amethyst have a sort of a calming effect? Like, I don't understand like why my brain never really put those two together. So in the last few years, I have sort of started sort of dotting those around the house to try and keep this calming atmosphere and to cleanse the air of negativity and to try and keep it as well as positive as possible, really. And so that's it for this video, guys. As I said before, if I didn't get to your question in this video, don't worry, just drop it down in the comments and I'll get to it as soon as I can. So thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I'll post any and all activity as and when I get it.